This video is going to make you master the Devastation map in Battlefield 5. For example, I will teach you my tactic which made me easily get 6 kills in 18 seconds by using only my medic rifle, as you will see. I will also teach you step by step in another example where I got 6 kills in less than 40 seconds, once again by only using my medic rifle. So I advise you to stick around. Tip number 1. Weapons. You need to keep up with a high pace in this map, so my advice is to go with a weapon with high fire rate and fairly accurate hip firing. Medic rifles such as the Suomi KP31 and Thompson M1928A1 are really good choices. Most assault weapons will be great too because of their high damage and accuracy. Support weapons can be devastating if you find right spots to hide. More on that if you continue watching this video. Playing as a recon in this map is nothing that I really recommend, but if you do so, I would play defensive with a semi-automatic rifle. Tip number 2. Sneak behind the enemy. The most active spot in this map is the center of the church, where we often can find 2 opposing front lines shooting at each other. So sneaking behind the enemy is extremely important in this map in particular and needs to be covered properly. So I really advise you to pay attention. The majority of players will be in the front lines having ultra focus on the opposing front line. The players in the front lines will almost always assume that their teammates have their back, but the thing is that everyone thinks so. Have you ever heard a teammate die and say something like, "Hey, why didn't you help me? Where were you?" Well, that's the reason. Everyone thinks that they are the one everyone else should protect. Anyways, let's talk about the tactic I'm going to teach you. To make it more clear and understandable, I will try to draw some crude graphics for you, so I hope you don't get scared away. Here's a very simple and basic blueprint of the church. Let's say the green line is your team's front line. The red line is your enemy's. As you can see, the direction that the front lines are facing is where the arrows are pointed at, pointing right at each other, which is mostly the case. So you can take them out by just sneaking behind them or flank. This is what you need to do practically. First, you need to locate where the front lines are, how they look and where they are facing. You don't need to peek up behind cover to see where the enemies are. You can simply see which direction your teammates are shooting at. Based on that and sound, you can get a pretty good feeling of where the enemies are and which direction they are shooting at. Which is probably at your teammates, of course. Here I spawned and could quickly see my teammates aim to the right. Based on the sounds, the direction they were aiming at, and the killed teammate over here, I could quickly get a feeling of that the enemy front line were about 15 to 20 meters to my right. As soon as I got a feeling of where the front lines were, I started to go around. I had to be quick but also fairly on my guard, so sometimes I stopped and checked my surroundings and then continued. I also were hiding here behind the wall, and because I was quick enough to locate the front lines and go around in time, I could kill this person without much struggle. Then I could easily continue to kill these 2 persons. Then reload, go around, kill these 2 unaware enemies, and then lastly this unknowing enemy. So all in all I got 6 kills within maybe 40 seconds. Okay, so those are the basics and they will make you go a long way. The result of mastering this tactic is of course that you can get many kills, cause serious damage and destabilize the enemy team, which will improve your personal stats and also help the team. Both cap point D and B are designed more or less like cap point C, but in smaller scale. Cap point A and E are pretty open and not as tight as the other points. So you can use the same tactics but be more cautious, because there's a greater risk that the enemy will spot you because of the open surroundings. Tip number 3. Be quick but don't rush. This tip is connected to tip number 2, so shortly after you start shooting on the back of the enemies, some of their teammates will look behind at you, and suddenly you will have a couple of enemies shooting at you. So take out the enemies one by one and don't rush. Instead, shoot 1 or 2 enemies, take cover, reload, check your surroundings, and then start shooting again. Tip number 4, kill the sheep. This is very judgmental, I know, but the majority of people are just bum rushing without looking around themselves. So it's easy to take a couple of enemies out by just hiding around the corner and wait for them to run past you. And tip number 5, this is a quick one, don't be a sheep. You will get some kills by bum rushing indeed, but to master the map you will need to be more creative. Tip number 6, use your surroundings. Devastation is probably the map where it's most difficult to spot hiding enemies. All of the rubble laying around from bombed buildings is great to use as cover, especially in the corners of the buildings where it's dark. I do remember a support who once lay down in the shadow of the church's corner and took out so many players, including me 2 times. And after the first time I died, I really tried to spot him again. I thought he died, but then he started shooting and killed me again. This shows how easy it is to hide in this map. Of course you can't expect not to get killed if you lay in the same spot all the time, so change hiding spots for maximum efficiency. I would like to share some footage with you which I found to be quite interesting. You can see me hiding here, and then killing an enemy who just ran by without noticing me. I kind of choked and missed a couple of bullets, but even that didn't save him. Now comes the more interesting part. When I'm about to enter the church, I can clearly see my teammate getting killed by an enemy to the right. I am very prepared to start shooting, but can't even drain half of his health, because he is so hard to spot behind the rubbles and shadows. I know there's not even much rubble, but still, I ran into my own trap fair and square. I have a couple of more tactics and tips on this map and others, so I suggest you to like and subscribe and tell me in the comments if you want to see more. Have a great life!
Shut up.